And we're off.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Jeff.
And we are doing a podcast watching Supernatural. It's one of my favorite shows. I've watched it multiple times. And he has never watched it. So I am taking him along this journey with me to watch Supernatural. There is a catch, however. We made a deal. And God help me, I'm going to watch his favorite show, a season for a season, which is Star Trek.
You know, every time we do this opening and you play this, I'm going to go get sound bites. Whenever you fall in love, you're just like, this show is amazing. I'm going to go back and pull them all together so you can go listen to it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can do a Vulcan mind melt.
There we go. See? Jumping right into the episode.
We can get to that in a second. So we watched today episode 6 of season 1. It is entitled Skin. Original air date was October 18th, 2005. Written by John Shiban and directed by Robert Duncan McNeil. Neither of those names do I recognize. But yeah, what an interesting episode.
Well, the fun fact that I am super geeked about is that today's episode is the first 2 tie-ins to Trek. I had heard that there were occasional cross references, but there's 2 of them in this one.
Oh, I only recognized one.
Yeah, there was the talking point of the Vulcan mind meld, which I think was an interesting choice of words. But knowing the next piece of information means I believe it was very deliberate. Robert Duncan McNeil is Tom Paris on Star Trek Voyager. So he was part of the ensemble cast, one of the main characters on that show.
Oh.
And he was actually in one episode of The Next Generation as a completely different character. But then 1996 to 2003, I believe, was the runtime of that show, 2002. And Robert Duncan McNeil was part of the bridge crew.
So he's an actor-director then?
Yes, I knew. Yeah, he's an actor-director. I knew that he had directed some of the later Voyager episodes, and I believe he did some subsequent Star Trek. I'll have to fact check that.
So it's like a little.
Come in here for facts.
So it's like a little Easter egg of him being the director there.
Yes.
Now, did you know up until me saying who that was the director?
I recognize his name in the opening credits.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
I was like, hold on a second. Wait, I've got to look. And I looked it up because I obviously, Robert Duncan McNeil, yes. A name like that is a little specific, and especially somebody going by all 3 names, and you'll see as we get later into Trek, but the Lower Decks animated series is kind of a throwback to every fandom, nerddom element, and he's actually been on the show too. So I was looking, I was like, what are the chances there might possibly be somebody else in the industry going by the same 3 names?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. So I've got to verify that he's directed. And yeah, so that made it obvious, obviously, seeing it on Google.
So your Star Trek little boy heart is happy.
Yeah.
After this 2 references to Star Trek, essentially.
I do know that he has done a lot of directing since Trek.
It makes me wonder if they made that line intentionally a Star Trek line, because at least it depends on the show, I'm sure, but they don't usually write the episode knowing who's going to direct it. So, at least not in my experience. It's possible they did in this case, but it also is possible that they might have had a different something in place there, and then when they got him as a director, they're like, you know what? Let's just Vulcan mind meld this instead of, I don't know, psychic connection or something like that.
Or mind read.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying is that it felt intentional to call it a Vulcan mind meld.
Yeah.
You could even make a reference to a mind meld and still get the point across about what they were doing at that point in the episode. But working in the Trek species specifically, that was what I wondered too. I kind of smirked thinking, okay, this seems like something that he would just work in.
Yeah, it wasn't even necessarily him either. Supernatural does do that in later episodes. Like, they will reference something that one of the actors, Jensen or Jared, did in their like other projects they did. Like Jared was in this horror movie. I can't remember the name of it, but like they reference it. And they do that. They kind of like break that fourth wall a little bit to like reference something that the actors done before.
So they'll do like an if you know, you know.
Yeah, that
kind of situation. Yeah.
So it's possible that the writers actually are the ones that were decided to do that. But
that's funny.
Right, yeah. So it was I mean, I liked this episode. How did you like it?
I mean, I liked it. There was nothing red flag about it, especially knowing that one of the Trek canon, it endeared the episode to my heart, knowing that he was involved. I don't get why it ranks so high for you. It's decent. It was a good episode. The shapeshifters idea was really fun to watch it play out. I had to start keeping a track record of who was real and who wasn't. I started losing track at a certain point. But I just don't know why it ranked so high for you.
I mean, the episode itself, standalone, is not like one of my total favorites. However, this episode kicks off a lot of things in a lot of ways. I mean, you heard what Dean said to Sam when shall we call them fake Dean? What should we call the shapeshifter?
Dean Trinet.
Dean Trinet. You heard what Dean Trinet said to Sam. And
to real Sam. Okay.
And Vulcan mind meld. So he obviously has his memories. And was he lying? Was he not lying? Was he trying to just get at Sam?
What part?
When he was saying things like, "Oh, he's got issues with you." You know, deep down, I'm just jealous. You know, and everybody leaves me. You know, no matter what, people are gonna leave me. You left, and then Dad, I did anything he ever asked me to, and he ditched me too. Like,
yeah, what was the play?
I think
for the shapeshifter, what was he trying to do?
I think maybe he was just trying to get into Sam's head. You know, if he can separate them, create a separation, then maybe Sam won't try so hard to take him down. You know, I don't know, or just mess with him. I mean, why is he going after people and killing them anyway? He clearly has some sort of psychopathy going on. Okay,
yeah, he's not well balanced.
So I don't know that we can apply our somewhat normal human minds to this creature.
You can't apply our sanity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it was one of those areas, like, if this is... I would have liked to have seen some more character development on the villain, the shapeshifter. Can we just call him, like, Rodney or something? So we have something to name him or talking about him? But I feel like they could have really gone deeper into, like, exactly why does he do this? Why doesn't he just pick a random form? He's in St. Louis, so go fly out to Las Vegas or Orlando, snap somebody, come back, and then just live as this life. Like, what's the point? Because the transition going from one form to the next looks incredibly painful.
Yeah, some of those shots,
that did not look fun.
Some of those shots were a little questionable.
So then why doesn't he just pick a lane and settle down? And maybe he does have an original form. I would assume in some kind of capacity he's got a baseline. But if you make this is his addiction, or he has to do it, or he really gets his rocks off by downloading somebody's entire personality and then playing out their life.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're right. It could be interesting to know the backstory of the shapeshifter, but I think that the episode would have been too cluttered because we were learning some backstory about Sam in this episode.
That is true. That is definitely true. I don't know. I feel like that could have pulled me in more if we had had some more of that. Because I didn't really feel the why. He was just a bad guy who did bad things. He was very static in that regard. And maybe you're right. Maybe they just didn't have the time because it felt very packed.
Well, I think
they moved very quickly through a lot of things.
Well, I mean, you were kind of up and down during this episode. No, not trying to call you out or anything, but did you hear his explanation to Rebecca about like kind of where he came from?
Yes. I think so. I'm not following.
What do you recall him telling Rebecca?
Oh, gotta remember things now. Maybe I don't remember.
He told her that, I mean, he wasn't necessarily talking about himself. He was talking, I mean, look, the shapeshifter was talking about himself, but Dean, he was speculating essentially to Rebecca. And he was saying that,
talking about when they were in front of the fire.
Yeah. And he was saying, maybe this thing was born human, but he was grotesque. And so, and he learned how to change so that he could, be a part of the world and, all that. I think, and you don't know how long this guy has been doing this. Like, he could be hundreds of years old. We don't know. And so maybe over time, he originally changed so that he could be less grotesque and connect with other people and be loved. He just wants to be loved. But over time, maybe because he still wasn't getting that, it became very distorted and it just went down the wrong path. Mm-hmm. I mean, he essentially became a serial killer.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Because at the end of the day, he was pretending to be a person, a normal person. Every time he was doing this, he was pretending to be a normal person, and he never was.
And maybe when he did, with Rebecca, he made a move on her, and she rejected him. And so then he was like, nope.
He got really, really mad.
And he was like, nope, all right, you're done. We're not doing this. You're going to die. And so maybe that was somewhat what happened with the other situations. He was trying to feel that same connection, that human connection that a wife and a husband or a girlfriend and a boyfriend would have had, but maybe the real person, the person that he ended up hurting or killing, it didn't go the way he wanted it to. And so that he just snapped. And maybe he's not capable of having those connections because of how much he has mutated himself over the years. You don't really know, I guess, but my guess is that it wasn't. If I had to take a stab at it, it would be, it started off as something that he just really wanted and needed in life. And over the years, it just became distorted and he became angry that he wasn't getting what he wanted, and loss of control, loss of just loss and loneliness. And obviously, I'm a true crime fan as well. And you hear all the time about how, serial killers or people that kill, like, a lot of it stems from, a lot of them actually got dropped on their heads or had major head injuries when they were children. Just fun fact there. But a lot of them is just like they want this sense of control.
Yeah.
It's a lot about control. And that's how they get it.
And that is typically, I'm not a true crime podcast listener, but have been fascinated by the psychology of crime, basically. A lot of times that's a trauma response. Their need to have control is because it's at a certain point in their life, at a pivotal point of their life, control was taken away from them. Most people who commit sex crimes were themselves sexually abused when they were younger. Most of them. Something outside, something irregular normalized it in their head. So if we take that and apply this back to this, you see, we're developing the character. That's what I'm saying. It was a bit static, and it could have been just there was no time. Maybe. But they were cramming a lot of things into the episode.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they also crammed a lot of Dean into this episode. You finally got some Dean in there, and now it came through the adult Dean tone there. What are we saying?
Dean Turnit?
The
Dean alternate?
Yeah, the Dean alternate. It came through him, but if we are willing to believe that at least most of what the Dean Turnit said, then, unsurprisingly, Dean's got issues.
True. Yeah, we did finally got, we finally got a little bit, like, droplets of backstory. when Sam went off to college, Dean stayed home. And he didn't have a choice to. And it sounds like he might actually have a problem with having to be the one that stayed home. Mm-hmm. So, we got a lot of those little droplets, but no real story time quite yet.
Yeah. I mean, you got so far a story that that Sam left and that he had to stay with Dad.
Exactly. He had to.
Yeah. And that that his whole life, he's done everything his dad has ever asked him to, and he still got ditched. So you really start seeing into Dean's psychology and kind of how obviously it's coming from the internet, but spoiler alert, it's the truth. But here's the thing, if someone has had the traumas and the upbringing that Dean had, the truth is going to be, you don't need to lie. You don't need to lie when you've had a past like these, because what the truth is enough. Now, that being said, does he maybe overplay it? We don't know. Does he make it seem bigger than it is? Maybe. We don't know yet. But at the core of everything he said is the truth about Dean. And it just makes it so sad for him, honestly, because I think it broke my heart a little bit to hear him say, I did everything he ever asked me to, and he still ditched me.
Yeah, the he ditched me part. This is not Dad's gone missing. This is I got ditched. Mm-hmm. I got abandoned.
I did everything. I did everything right.
And it takes me back to the very beginning when he disappeared. Dean went out to go get his brother. Mm-hmm. There's almost a... I wonder if we're going to get to see some unpacking of Dean's sense or definition of family. Because with his dad, it's about obedience. And he felt abandoned. I mean, his dad could have been abducted or dead, and he's feeling ditched. He's feeling abandoned by it. And then he went and immediately went out to go get his brother. He's been keeping them together, but that hasn't been a whole lot of effort. But yeah, there's a couple of things that I hope that we get some time to unearth about Dean for sure.
I mean, we have 15 seasons, so you're going to hear a lot more about Dean, Sam, Dad, Mom. I mean, you're going to get to hear a lot more about all of them.
Baby. Don't leave Baby out.
And Baby, actually, too. You're going to hear a lot more about it, and you're going to hear a lot more about exactly what you said, Dean's sense of family and what family means to him, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And... it goes back to the heart of the show. It's about family. And most of the series, what you see as family is these two brothers.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I don't know. I'm a Dean girl. So the peek into Dean's, because he plays it off so much. He plays off so much that he's just cool and calm and collected, and nothing really phases him other than if his brother's in trouble. But you get this peek.
Which is often dangerous.
You get this peek into the vulnerabilities of Dean Winchester. And I love that.
But also, the way that they chose to give us these pieces of him, like somebody else got behind the wheel of Dean and got to drive. Mm-hmm. Somebody else got to handle all of his memories. Somebody else got to observe as a third party and got to bypass the "it's all cool" filter that Dean usually has. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, this dude just opens up the book and just starts reading from the first page he lands on. And then, of course, Sam is getting all kinds of stuff, which I'm hoping they talk about. I'm hoping Sam's like, hey, by the way, a couple of things that this guy said.
Yeah.
But with the I'm trying to think about how to say this. There is a bit of an invasion for Dean on this behalf, too.
Oh, invasion of privacy, yeah, for sure.
His invasion of, it's almost, it's got to feel, I don't know how to say it, but his individuality was invaded. It was assaulted. And it was taken completely away from him. That these things that he didn't want out in the open, especially to his brother, obviously. And, now he's a wanted man. It's joked about last time, but
yeah, I know.
And when
you make these predictions, I'm like, I want to so bad.
But I mean, he started the episode by impersonating a police officer, so I'm just going to start keeping a tally.
That's not fair. Sam made him.
He owned it. This is what I said last time, is that I think he enjoys it. I think he lives for it. Because he kind of looks at him, he's like, yeah, okay. And then, of course, they were just talking about you can't have real friendships and you're lying to people and yada yada. But then he was like, yep, well, since I'm a cop and all, I'm going to illegally park. Oh, there's another crime that he committed. Yep, so guy deserved to be in jail. But I do still like him. I hope that we get to see where these new truths go. It was almost like they had a really, really heavy drinking, like a blackout night, and things were said that you said it because you were drunk, but you also really meant it.
Yeah.
Thing. Also, there was a lot of beer drinking in this episode. Like,
the candy glass beer bottle. That was cool.
The smashing beer bottle. They talked in the very beginning, and this was Nick's alibi. He's like, yeah, he was over here. He had a couple of beers, and he was drinking until after midnight. And then asked Becca, is that her name?
Yeah.
Asked Becca to go get him a couple of beers and some sandwiches. Which, hold on, pause. Her response to that statement.
Oh, yeah.
Was so weird.
Yeah, what do you think this is, Hooters? Like, why Hooters?
Why Hooters?
Why not
of
just,
all of the restaurants?
Why not just do a restaurant?
What do you think this is, a restaurant?
Yeah,
exactly.
Why Hooters?
She implied that she's a Hooters girl.
That was
I think
so
that was
bizarre.
so weird.
So bizarre.
And he asked for sandwiches.
Well, he wanted to give more time.
Well, I'm aware of what he was trying to do, but he asked for sandwiches, and she took it to Hooters.
Yeah.
Hooters doesn't make sandwiches.
I've never been.
It it sucks. The food's terrible.
Oh, so you've been. Okay.
Yeah, I've been. I'm a guy. Hello. I've never enjoyed Hooters ever. By the way, oh come on, don't even play at this. You know that you wouldn't care. No, I'm not doing this with you.
Oh, you should do this with me because now he's in big trouble, ladies and gentlemen.
I am not in big trouble.
Yeah, he really is.
I haven't been in years, and it has been 100% by choice. I think that place is terrible. But anyway, their big thing is wings. That's the thing. So it was just such a random connection to make.
Yeah.
I really liked the character. I really liked Becca's character.
Yeah.
And I hope that because this is Sam's friend, I hope that there's a world that she can come back. But that was so weird.
That was really weird.
Anyway, so the whole there were three or four different mentions of just guys drinking beer.
Well, I mean, they are college kids. Like, they're general college age, so maybe that's why they were, because, like, college kids drink beer because it's cheap. I don't know. Maybe that's why.
Oh, wait. When Dean Turnett, before he left, when Sam was tied up before he attacked him, and the knife and the rope, and we'll talk about that soon too, he took a drink then too. It was just, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong here, it was just weird that it came up so frequently in this episode.
I can't say
and it was so distant with the previous, 5?
Yeah, I can't say that I noticed, but sure.
Okay. So the sugar bottle. It feels like it's one of those things that everybody knows, but maybe it's a topic for you to do an industry breakdown.
Oh, I mean, it's just a safe way of breaking. You're not going to break a real glass bottle over someone's head. Obviously, that would hurt a lot, and you might not actually break the bottle, depending on what strength you're able to use with it. So yeah, no, they just make fake bottles out of the candy glass or sugar, and they break. And that's it. It's not really...
Sorry.
It's not super complicated. I think most people know about it. Just like they know that the glass that... Because oftentimes you'll actually see it when glass breaks. You'll see them bouncing. Because they're made out of like this rubber.
Oh, yeah.
If you're looking closely, like somebody breaks through a window and you get like a shot of, maybe they're falling on the ground. You can see some of the pieces like bouncing. And it's like that... That's not how glass works, but that's okay. And I think the general rule of thumb that we say in the industry is like, look, if they're looking at that, we're not doing our job. Because if you're looking at that or his brother, Jeff's brother, will look at, he's really into planes and he'll just be like, that plane only has 2 engines. That one's got 4. And it's like, okay, but no one else is looking at that. So if you're an aviation expert, maybe you're looking at the plane. If you're super into trying to find things that are, off about movies or TV shows, then maybe you're looking at the glass. But generally speaking, the idea is that the story should be what you're paying attention to. So if you're noticing that one little thing, then we're not doing our jobs, I guess. But also, personally, it's not my story. I'm not directing it. So I'm also like, well, whatever. Who cares if they notice? Like, people love to, like, get the little Easter eggs or whatever
It's
that
fun.
they find. Yeah.
It's
and so,
fun.
like, who cares if they find it, you
And
know?
I think we've done it in just about every episode. I think we have found something in every episode.
Yeah. So I'm just like, at the end of the day, like, who cares? You know, everybody knows, at the end of the day, everybody knows that this is pretend.
Right.
And obviously, if it's huge and blatant and horrible, then that's one thing. But if it's seeing a piece of glass bounce off the ground instead of it, you know, skittering or whatever, then like, oh, okay, fine. You know what? We didn't want to throw someone through a wheel window, so sue us. You know? But yeah. So
Yeah, they're fun to pick out. Some people can take it too far. I know sometimes I'll push it too far. I'll fall out of the story for a minute because I'm looking for something. But it is fun, and it is fun to just to catch that little thing that I guess serves as a reminder that this is pretend. Well, what was it? I picked out another one in this one. Yeah, the sun doesn't rise in St. Louis at 5:30 in the morning.
well, at least they found their way to St. Louis.
And they did find their way to St. Louis.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing a reference.
They have a better sense of direction than some people at this table.
Oh, now I see what you're doing. Ha 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 ha. That's funny. Jeff got lost once.
For hours.
Yes.
Though, to be fair, this was before GPS.
This was way before GPS.
Yeah, he's old. So it's way before GPS, and he, just being a stubborn man, was driving in the wrong direction for many hours.
We were driving in the wrong direction. I just took a detour. Yeah. I just took the scenic route to get from Oklahoma to Tennessee.
So not only is he stubborn, he also can't admit when he's wrong. You see the issues we have here.
Okay. So, I noticed that when Dean Turnett in that scene... Oh, yeah, there's just one more thing in there, is that the rope got cut in like 2 seconds. The rope was made out of butter.
Yeah,
that knife.
when Sam was tied up in Becca's house, and for some reason, Dean Turnett thought it was a great idea to stab the pool table. What it was?
Oh yeah, that's right. There was no reason for that.
Yeah, he did this. He's like, I'm just going to leave this right here within 3 feet of the person that's tied up. I mean, like, I get it. You got to move the story. You got to move the story along sometimes. And so I'm not really making fun of it. But the fact that Sam was able to cut through his ropes in
like 1 inch ropes too. These were not small ropes.
2 seconds. Now I get it. You don't want to sit there and watch him go
Right.
but it was fast. But that's what we like to call like TV or movie magic, suspension of disbelief. You know.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, worth mentioning, not a hinging moment, but right about during that scene, I noticed you were even speaking along with Dean Turnett when he said, "Your brother has a lot of good qualities. You should appreciate him more than you do."
Yeah.
Do you want to unpack that for us?
I mean, I think it lends itself to the same thing I was saying before about a peek inside Dean's head, and kind of just this idea that I think what that statement kind of alludes to is that Dean does a lot, and he's not necessarily appreciated for it. And I say that because it goes hand in hand with I did everything he ever wanted me to, and he still ditched me. You know, and he's been taking care of Sam his entire life. And so far, we haven't seen anything from Sam. And I'm not saying that he should be like always like, oh, Dean, thank you so much for taking care of me. I'm not saying that. But so far, the audience has not seen Dean appreciated for that. What he has sacrificed, really. Dean's made it's clear that he's made a lot of sacrifices. Sam got to go to school and Dean had to stay back. And he took care of Sam, you know, we think anyway. I mean, it would make sense that he had to take care of Sam when their dad was out doing what he was doing. And so he had to make a lot of sacrifices at a young age even. And so far, we haven't seen any sort of indication that anybody even really recognized that. Like, we've not seen Sam say anything about the fact that, you know, he's been able to go to college. And he even said, he's like, Dad's the one that said that if I wanted to go, I should stay gone. Like, they've actually talked a little bit about how Sam disappeared and went to school.
Right.
But there, in that conversation, there was no recognition that Dean had to stay. And, like, kind of an appreciation for the fact that because Dean stayed, he was able to go. Now, granted, Dean's a grown man. He could have also left, but it seems to me that the family dynamic of this is that you don't leave. You just don't leave.
He has a bit of a sense of obligation and duty. Precisely.
Yeah.
So, because like Sam didn't go to college. Sam disappeared.
Yeah. Now, right or wrong, I mean, now Dean is a grown-ass man. When he was a kid, did he really have a choice? No. But now he's a grown-ass man, so you could argue, like, this is your choice now, dude. You could leave and go live your life. So Sam doesn't owe you what's happening right now, you know?
But I think the point, though, is that there's something in his mind. There's some kind of an obstacle in his head that isn't letting him see that truth. Mm-hmm. That they could call off their search for their dad and he could go to Europe or whatever. He could just stop. But he has this sense that he has to do this, and he doesn't really feel like he has a choice.
Yeah, and I think you could argue a lot of reasons why that is. I mean, at the end of the day, like, people are gonna die if he doesn't continue to do what he does, you know?
True.
And so you kind of feel this sense of, again, duty. Like, you know, who are you to, like, you know what? Forget about all those people. I'm just gonna go live an apple pie life, you know. Yeah. I can totally see that, but also we have to remember: has Dean known anything else?
That was where I was getting ready to head with that too, for the exact same motivation. Yeah, because for him, it seems like for Dean, because of the way that he talks about it, if you do something, because if you don't do it, a lot of people die, then this is your burden.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a better word.
As
not
opposed
duty.
To, I get to help, I get a lot of fulfillment, and people get to live whenever I do this. There's two different sides of the same coin, but man, it's so different.
Yeah.
So does he know something else? Does he feel worthy of doing anything else? Because he didn't go to college, so he's not going to go out and start a law practice or something like, you know, the direction that Sam has.
Yeah.
So what is that? It can create a lot of bitterness. It can create a lot of, especially if you feel underappreciated in doing something that their hunting has to stay silent. It has to be quiet. It has to stay under the radar. So that can create resentment.
Yeah, I think that your burden's a really good word, as opposed to duty. Burden, for sure. That he has the burden of this knowledge, and to just walk away from it, what does that say about him as a person, you know? And so he's trying to remain this person that he strives to be. Now, he's obviously a very imperfect human. They all are. Everybody in this series is going to be an imperfect human. But because it's based in reality, and that's part of the reason I like it, that all these characters that we have are extremely imperfect and very flawed, and that's representative of real life. But I think too, change is hard, and even if what you're living with in your current life kind of sucks, sometimes it's easier to not make a change because you're used to whatever that is. Whatever that sucky thing is, you know that you can live with it. Versus making a change. You don't know what the other side looks like. And there is a comfort in knowing. Even if it's bad, there's a comfort in knowing. And so making changes is extremely difficult. So for Dean to not only drop the burden, which is something he doesn't feel like he really can do, not only to drop the burden, but to kind of just be like, well, I've literally never known another kind of life, but I'm just going to go and try and live it. Like, he has no idea what that looks like. He has no idea how to do that. So it might be a combination of a burden, duty, comfort in what he knows, even if it sucks,
And not changing, right?
and not changing. And also, and not for nothing, he clearly does care a lot about his family. So if he leaves this life like Sam did, his dad said, if you go, then stay gone. So presumably they weren't talking for 4 years when Sam was at school.
Right.
And I think for Dean, family clearly is probably the top of the list for him of importance. And so if he leaves this life, he's leaving behind his family.
Which
is the only steady thing that he's had his entire life is his family.
Right. Well, because they talked about it in this episode, this is just not really a life that you can have friends. Mm-hmm. Because you can't be genuine with them. Mm-hmm. You have to lie to them. So it doesn't sound like Dean really has a network or people, a neighborhood, a Facebook group. Like, he's got none of it.
I mean, this was slightly before Facebook. Well, I mean, Facebook was barely getting started at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, it was still college level, and there were no groups yet. It was just individual profiles.
Yeah.
I remember. Those were the good days. Before it was worldwide. That was when Facebook was at its peak. Anyway.
But yeah, so...
Different conversation.
So you said you're curious to find out why I like this episode so much, and that's more or less it. It wasn't necessarily the skinwalker. Why do they call it skinwalker? It's not skinwalker. Shapeshifter. It wasn't necessarily the shapeshifter. It was the peek behind the curtain that we got that kind of can jumpstart other things. Like you said, like, I hope at some point they talk about this. I mean, I don't remember when they talk about it, but at some point I know that Sam has some sort of beef. Like, kind of just like, well, I think he makes mention of like, well, maybe, maybe this is what you're feeling. And then Dean is something like, really? Do we have to talk about this? Like, I mean, it's something like that. I don't remember when it happens, but it does happen at some point. It does create tension because, of course, Sam's going to wonder, like, is this how my brother really feels?
Yeah, I'm waiting for that powder keg. I feel like there's something coming. Not necessarily a fallout, but pulling over the car and saying, hey, you got to figure this out. And Sam's carrying a lot of burden. He's carrying a lot of weight. He's carrying a lot of unsolved or unresolved feelings. And he's keeping Dean out of it. Dean knows that he's keeping him out of it. This is going to be my secret. And I'm hoping that this isn't just... This is what I wanted to say last time about the last episode, is I hope that's not something that they keep, because Sam has just straight up said, I'm going to have my secrets. These are going to be my things. Are they going to open this up later? Is this an opportunity for them to do this? Or he's going to keep for 15 years the secret. So either way, there's that. And then Dean, you just got to peek behind the curtain. You get to see that what Dean is presenting and what Dean is feeling are two very different things. And now, after the first time in 4 years, when they've obviously had some problems, but when do brothers have a perfect run?
Yeah.
It feels like there's going to be at some point where we just can't have these differences anymore. It feels like there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I think, too, I mean, obviously Sam has his secret, which we know, but Dean doesn't know at this point.
I'm assuming it's the dream / premonition.
Yeah.
I'm leaving space that it could be something else.
Yeah. But and then Dean has his own secrets. You know, I doubt he's had these conversations with Sam, because they don't really have episode 1, no chick flick moments. You know, they don't have these heart to hearts. And you know, it's a secret. He's keeping it maybe for good reason, to try and protect Sam, and he doesn't want to burden him with that. But it's a secret nonetheless. And as close as they are, they know each other almost as good as they know themselves in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And you know, you'll come to find out too that, you know, as much as Dean keeps these secrets and Sam keeps these secrets, they both, maybe not in the exact same words, they both know it about each other, because they just know each other so well.
Right.
Like, you know, they may never have said it out loud, but Sam knows that Dean has issues, and that Dean is, like, you know, all about the family, and like feels, you know, whatever.
Well, yeah, of course.
Just because they're not dumb, and they've lived literally side by side for, you know, call it 15 years before Sam, you know, went off to college. So I don't know. long story short, I love this episode because it really kickstarted a lot of stuff and got us a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I noticed you caught that line. Like, you were waiting for that line. So I figured it was worth digging into. Okay, now here's my fun question. What would you do if you had that ability? Because we're assuming that Rodney, the shapeshifter, is human-ish, at least. He was talking about the genetic flow of it, whatever, yada, yada. But in general, we're assuming that he's a person. So what would you do if you had this ability?
You know, I want to know someone that has that ability so that they can turn into me and they can go to work for me. Wow.
That is not where I thought you were going to go with that.
I'm just not really, I'm too genuine of a person, I think, to even pull it off, even if I was turning into somebody else. So I don't think it would be much use for me. Also, you're right, the transition looks really gross. So I don't know if I want to go through that.
Like, painful would be the part that I would be more concerned about.
Well, that too, I guess.
Gross is, you find a place to be alone for a couple of minutes and you're fine, other than the goo.
So much goo, it's so gross.
So much vomit-inducing goo.
But yeah, I don't think I would make much use of that, to be honest. I don't really have the want to like turn myself into somebody else. It seems kind of, I don't know, doesn't really strike my fancy. So, but I would take somebody else looking like me so they can go to work for me. Or do like any of the things that I don't want to do. I really just kind of want a doppelganger to do all the things I don't want to do.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I don't want them to murder people, though. Let's be real. I just want them to have the ability to look like me.
Well, at least you can set some boundaries, at least.
What about you? You seem to have an idea, like you seem disappointed by my answers. That means I feel like you have like something brewing over there.
Well, I'm assuming no moral compass. You just kind of do whatever you need to do because you're stealing identities. And by your nature, you're lying to people. So assuming the suspended moral compass.
God, really, I think I would. So
yeah, that's true. I think that if I were in that case, I would take the form. I would turn into people that could set me up. Like if I hated a couple of policies, then I could turn into the president. There's all kinds of things that you could do. I mean, you could do it for just a week. Go in and pass a bunch of executive orders to make your life better, and then switch back and go home. Or you could do this with like the head of your bank, and then go in and add a couple of zeros to your bank account, because that's obviously how that works. But I'd do some things that would be very advantageous using the power that people have. And it could be influence, it could be celebrities, it could be anything, but I wouldn't do it very often because it does look very, very painful.
So you got a little bit of loose morals over there on that side of the table.
Literally said it, that you have to suspend the moral compass here by the very nature of what it is. I literally said that.
Yeah, but that's why I'm like, that's why I can't, I feel like I can't, it's no use to me. I feel like that's why, because I just don't think I would have the ability to do that. Like if I was pretending to be a bank manager or whatever, like somebody like, what's wrong with you? Why do you look like what? I don't why are you stammering and look like you don't know what?
Absolutely. You wouldn't make it.
No, I wouldn't.
You go running from the bank screaming.
Just putting it out there, PSA, if you ever need me to be a alibi for you and you're asking me to lie, don't. Just don't.
You're going to jail.
If you do that, you'll probably go to jail because I'll give it a good effort, but it will not go over well.
It's true. I've seen her try.
Now, if I really am your alibi in like truth, then we're good. We're solid because I can tell the truth really easily. But yeah, lying is just not. It's not in my in my toolbox.
Yeah, it's true. We did have the day that I kind of put you in a position for us to live a lie. I'll never forget that. We were down in Texas, and you came down to visit. And I thought I wanted to think of something just really unique, very cool to do, but also very Texas, because that's my old stomping ground. It's where I'm from. And so I went and found some very, very nice open houses that were coming up on Sunday. And we went, I didn't tell you what we were doing until right before we got there to do the first one. But we went to go see 6?
Maybe like 5.
It was somewhere around there. Some of them ended up not working, but these were all houses that were well over $1 million each. A couple million. I think we saw one. I think the highest one that we saw was like 6.7 million or something like that. And we just went in because I just wanted to go see the cool house. I just thought it would be fun.
I'm a Zillow bitch, so I love looking at houses.
And it was really fun, but we needed backstories.
Yeah, I let him handle that part. It was so hard. I was so uncomfortable. Like, the first one was the worst one.
The first one was the absolute worst.
Yeah.
Well, again, there was nobody else there. It was literally just us and the realtor. And so it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Because we can't just be like, hey, we have absolutely no chance of buying this house. We don't even live in this state. They're not going to let us just walk around. So we needed the backstory.
Yeah, and so the guy was like giving us the third degree. And I'm just standing there, anxiety is just like pouring out of me. I'm sure that if you looked at me, you would just see this like haze around me and be like, what is that haze? Is anxiety. And I'm just like gripping my hands and just like, oh my God. Because I just can't. Oh, and you just so flawlessly just like, was just like, oh yeah. And I'm just like, uh-huh. It was so awkward. It
wasn't that awkward.
It was so uncomfortable.
You were just, it was the part of that made me cry. I can see that. Deep breaths. Calm down. You're okay.
Guys, it's real. Oh, God. My heart is beating so fast.
So, yeah, if you need Stephanie to be your alibi, just set your affairs in order. You're going to jail.
A fake alibi.
Yep.
To be clear.
But it was fun. It was a really fun experience. I would highly recommend it to anyone.
It would be like looking at houses. I happen to like looking at houses, and apartments, and all that.
Very neat.
Yeah.
But we also got those really, really good macaroons, too.
Oh, yeah.
At the last house. Those were fantastic.
I
almost bought the house for the macaroons.
That was actually that was our favorite house, actually.
Definitely.
But also, the ones that we were able to just walk in and, like, look at the house, that was fine. I didn't have an issue with that. It was when we started getting questions and we had, I say we, but you, had to outright lie. That is where I was like, oh, my God. Like, I just, yeah, it was bad. I just stand there silently awkward.
You just stood there. I should have told him like you were deaf or something, so they wouldn't try to talk to you.
Oh God, it was so bad. It was so bad.
How does that tie back in? I forgot how we
lying and
shapeshifter.
If you're a shapeshifter, and I can't do it.
Right.
But yeah. So, yeah, it was. The shapeshifter part is what it is, but I really liked the backstory and the peek behind the curtain, and yeah, I think
you were staring off into the distance like you're thinking very intelligently.
Yeah, I was trying to think of. Oh, there was something else I noticed. I mentioned it while we were watching. When Sam and Dean are out trying, like after they chased the guy out of the sewer. And they're out both looking.
Oh, yeah.
And Sam's on a crowded sidewalk, which is fine. But then Dean's in like these back alleys. And there's multiple people in these back alleys.
A lot of people.
I'm like, why? Who's just hanging out in alleys? Now, I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it like he has to actually look at each individual person. It makes it harder for him. If there's no one in the alley, then if the one dude does show up, it's easy to spot him. So I get what they were going for. But I'm like, but could we not have just also done it on a sidewalk? Does it have to have been in a back alley where it's unusual that people are hanging out?
Well, I mean, you could have run into a McDonald's or something. We would have had the same effect.
Or something, yeah.
I get that.
So that was a little peculiar. And as someone who works in the department that is responsible for putting the background in, I question whether, I mean, I'm sure the idea, again, was that you don't make it easy on them to find him. And so the background, the second AD on set would have, well, actually, I think they called them third ADs in Canada, would have had to, you know, against their better judgment, put a bunch of people in an alley. So.
Yeah. Oh, fun fact, industry knowledge, the alleyway, whole New York alleyway thing, it doesn't exist. There are no alleys here. That's something we'd had a conversation about before I moved up here, was that
not really.
Yeah, it gets written in all the time that this conversation happens in a New York alley, and the way that the city's mapped, the way that we've done building, there are no alleys.
I mean, there's a couple or a few, but not like you'd see in Chicago,
right?
For example.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
So, what was your favorite thing from the episode?
Oh yeah, we gotta run down that. You might have to go first. I didn't prepare. I forgot.
I think the peek behind the curtain in the internet that gave us. I enjoyed that. And also how upset Dean was about the fact that A, the internet drove his car. B, the police sketch of him wasn't even a good picture, and that he missed his own funeral. But all of those things are all masking, you know, the true feelings he has. But yeah.
Okay, I think my favorite was the end. Sam's glimpse into seeing the spirit, I guess, of his ex. Or not his ex. I guess
we haven't
technically
even
not
talked
together
about that.
anymore. Yeah, I know. We didn't even talk about it. Jen is her name, right? Jennifer?
Jessica,
I was close. Yeah, seeing her and then having her vanish is very intentionally done. That feels like they're starting to tease us into upcoming episodes. They're going to show us a glimpse of something that they're going to get to, but they're not going to explain it to us yet. And that's usually when series start getting really, really interesting. I think that's going to be really fun.
Yeah. I have an honorable mention of the brothers in the car as they were driving away right before the Jess moment where, Sam says he's, some sort of freak or whatever, and Dean says, yeah, well, I'm a freak too, and I'm here for you, or something like that. He doesn't say I'm here for you. That sounds way too, like, mushy-gushy for Dean, but...
Yeah, no snake flicks.
Yeah, no snake flicks, but it was something along the lines of, like, I'm here for the ride, or something like that.
Yeah.
And Sam says, I know you are. And I was like, oh, brothers.
The brotherly love.
Yeah, the veiled brotherly love. Like, what's not mushy-gushy, outright, I love you, but kind of the unsaid but still said things. But yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I like it.
I mean, this is like, it's been 6 episodes now, and despite the fact that, like, they've almost lost their lives a few times now, they've never, hugged or said I love you or anything like that. And it becomes I don't know what to call it, a thing for Supernatural fans moving forward, of like anytime you do get something like that, it's like one out of 30 episodes you might get a hug or something like that. So it becomes like this thing that we all hold on to, like, oh, they finally hugged. Becomes such a thing. Yeah.
Okay, well, what about least favorites?
Oh boy, I think when Dean Turnett is transforming into, who did he transform into?
From Dean Turnett?
Yeah, he was Dean Turnett and he transformed.
Wasn't it Becca?
Maybe. Yeah. When that happened, some of the special effects were a little bit like this makeups, but like they had this like close up of a mouth with the jaw going like up and down, like ar 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 ar, and the teeth are falling out. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
it was just a little bit. The thing is, they did all these like extreme close ups of these things, but then the extreme close up let you see how it's not actually that great.
Oh, sure.
So I feel like it would have been better serviced by maybe only cutting to it for a moment as opposed to cutting back to it multiple times and just seeing this jaw moving up and down, and it's just clearly fake. I don't know. It took me out of it a little bit because I'm just like looking, I'm like, yes, it's gross, but I'm also like, but that's also like not good.
Right.
Like, it doesn't look good.
I wonder if that was a budget thing. Isn't that typically why they will go in super close on certain things, just because you can't see it near as much? Like, I know they do that on fight scenes. Like, if the actor is not a very good fighter, they'll zoom in super close so you can't see how bad they are.
Sure. But in this case, I going closer doesn't service them. However, that actually brings up another thing, which is I wonder if Jensen and Jared had to get fight training for this. I would think that they would have, because you see them fight a lot. They fight each other in the pilot, and now they fight each other again. Well, Dean Turnett and Sam fight, and if I remember correctly, in earlier seasons, Jensen and Jared did a lot of their own stunts, which is fine. If they're athletic and everything, they can handle it. There's like nothing wrong with it, besides the fact that it's a major insurance issue. Sure. If they were to get hurt, because accidents happen. Doesn't matter how good you are. Accidents happen. Stunt people get injured. We have a stunt person on the show that I'm on now who was just training. They weren't doing anything with our show. They were just training, and they hurt their knee really badly, and now they are out for a while. Not that Jensen and Jared aren't capable of doing a lot of these things. It's just an insurance issue, obviously. So I bet you they got stunt. I would hope that they would have given them fight training, but maybe there wasn't a budget for it. I don't know. But yeah, I would say the transformation, some of those close-ups, I could have done without. So I'm going to go with that or the not so well done special effects of the bullets trailing Dean in the ground.
Yeah,
it was just a lot. I was like, really? I think it was cheesy. That's what it was. It just screamed like, really, like, okay. Like the bullets chasing the feet. I'm just like, right. How? I don't know. That's just. I feel like that could have been not there, and we could have still gotten the idea that he was being chased by bullets, essentially, as opposed to like literally seeing the ground go right behind his feet. I was like,
like that.
I was like, I don't know about that. Just not a choice I would have made, but
yeah. And shout out St. Louis Special Forces for opening up 2 assault rifles in a neighborhood and when the perp is running away.
Yes, because you deserve to die if you're running away.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and they aim like stormtroopers too. So yeah, exactly. Mine, I guess, would be, well, number one, obviously, no Jeffrey D. Morgan. So that's always going to make it at least favorite thing about an episode. The other part I think would be you're not gonna like this part. The glimpse into Dean and his lack of just being cool with it. He reverts into this just macho guy persona where everything's fine, whatever, no chick flicks. I mean, just this macho man moment, and he got exposed. It's very vulnerable what he went through, and then at the end of it, he's just like, yeah, okay, whatever, we're fine.
Oh, but see, I don't know if Dean knows what Dean Turnett said to Sam, because he was out. And Sam explained to him that he had, like, it was weird. It was like he had your memories. And he's like, oh, like a Vulcan mind meld. Yeah. So he had to explain to Dean that this guy has his memories and everything, which alludes to the fact that he didn't actually hear anything that Dean Turnett said.
That is true.
So I don't think Dean knows yet that Dean Turnett exposed him.
Okay, fine. So Dean does not get on my shin list.
But that brings up another, like, special effects, visual effects thing I had. I always noticed it when I watched it even the first time, but when Dean goes up to dead Dean Turnett, and takes the necklace off of him, and he's like kneeling down next to him, I always knew that it looked weird, but now watching it, I'm like, that is a straight up freeze frame of Dean Turnett.
Oh,
it's
really?
A freeze frame.
I didn't catch that.
As opposed to, you know, the whole, I don't know, maybe Parent Trap is a great example where they like meld two pieces of video together or whatever. But
or split screen it or whatever.
Yeah, but this was a split screen with a still photo.
Oh gosh.
Which maybe I can only notice now with like the better quality screen as opposed to 2005. I mean, I probably watched it on a tube back in 2005.
In 05? Yeah, probably.
So back then, maybe that's why I didn't notice it, because it wasn't on a screen good enough to realize that the right side of the screen was like a different type of quality than the left side of the screen.
Right.
And looking at it closely tonight, I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's just a freeze frame.
Wow.
Yeah.
Worth noting. That's interesting. That's super interesting. And I do want to give props as well that there's a lot of different shows in the sci-fi world that will do some kind of a shapeshifter. It's a really good one, and they also said it too. Like every culture has some sort of shapeshifting in the past.
War.
But the thing that almost always gets the shapeshifter in trouble, every single show, every single movie, it's always the same thing. They didn't know something about their past, and because they only shapeshifted their physical form, their body. And they always get in trouble. And I love that they derailed it immediately. Sam questioned him, and he got it right. Because the science of it makes sense. If you're making a duplicate of somebody, then you're going to have all their memories. You're going to have access to all the same information. And I love that they did that. I love that they went down that road, because that also simultaneously made them so much more dangerous and so much harder to pick. Except I did get the first one right.
I was impressed when Dean walked up and he's like, anything? And he throws his hands up and he was like, and what did you say? You said
fake.
Fake. It's fake. Yeah. And I was like, what? What do you mean fake? And of course I knew that Dean was fake, but
since you're on rewatch.
Yeah, but I didn't want to assume that that's what you meant. And he's like, well, his shoulder's better. And I was like, that is a good catch. However, I'm like, was it so bad that he couldn't have just thrown his hands up to his side a little bit? But
well, literally, as they had been walking around, he was whole straight.
But then he was running in an alley with his gun using.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't necessarily buy that he wouldn't have been able to do that without any pain. But regardless, you did catch it. And then they immediately give it away by showing his eyes.
Yeah, and that was... I wish they hadn't.
Yes, I wish they would have let us wonder with Sam.
Exactly.
And then also it would have been... Not only are you wondering with Sam, it would really showcase how good Sam is. Because I think in some ways, like, obviously it still shows that he's good, but the fact that you already knew, it eliminates that.
It dissociates.
It eliminates the tense and the anxiety, right? Because if you're feeling that same anxiety, like, oh my God, is it him? Is it him? And Sam figures it out. You're like, oh, it's Sam. He got it. As opposed to like you already know, like, come on, Sam, figure it out. Like you had a different feeling. So I feel like it makes it feel less celebrated that Sam figured it out because in one situation you're relying on Sam to figure it out so that you can figure it out, and in the other instance you're just hoping he does.
Well, and in the one sense, whenever they showed it to us and then Sam figured it out, they kept us passive. We're just kind of watching Sam at this point because we know that Dean is fake, and Sam, we're like, okay, he's going to figure this out. How's he going to figure this out? Hopefully something bad doesn't happen to him. But we're still passively experiencing the story. And a narrative like this, we should never feel settled. If this guy could be anybody, if Rodney could be anybody, we should always be on edge. We should never be convinced that the person that we're seeing is who it looks like they are. I would love for them to have not shown us and even kept it going for a little bit. And if they could have had us questioning, hold on, is Dean real? Wait a minute, is Sam real?
Well, that's the thing, too. We never actually were confused.
Exactly. They kind of handed it to us.
Every time.
The way that they were compacting so many things in, I think that this script was just longer than they had the time to tell.
Yeah, honestly.
That's my guess.
Like Becca, for example. They had Dean find Becca in the sewer to immediately let us know that the Becca that was with Sam was wrong. And I'm like, why did we have to reveal that?
Exactly.
I feel like every single time they revealed it to us before, like there was no... It never created this sense of anxiety for the audience.
Which is what we should have had the whole time.
Yeah,
I agree. And it is a great episode. I'm not dogging it at all. There's nothing wrong with how they did it.
Yeah.
But, my man Robert Duncan McNeil... I wanted more of that, and maybe he couldn't. Maybe there was just too much in there with too little time to tell it, and so they had to hack out all of those bits and pieces that would have made it so much more layered and enjoyable and suspenseful and anxiety ridden, and etc. So that would have been a good change, I think. But it was a great episode.
Did you do your least favorite?
Yeah, Jeffrey Morgan.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then I withdrew my other.
Yeah.
Because, you're absolutely right. I'd forgotten about the part that he was unconscious. Why did they put them both in the same room, by the way? If these guys were captured, they were trapped in the same room. So they could just freely talk to each other.
Yeah, no, he's like, where's my brother? And he's like, you don't even want to know the next question.
He's right behind you. Oh, okay.
That's convenient. And a horrible bad guy decision making.
Yeah, there were a lot of conveniences.
There was a lot of horrible bad guy decision making, like the knife and putting Dean and Sam in the same room together. True. There was just a lot of, and he knows these guys must be like, supernatural hunters of some sort because he saw the trunk and he realized like they clearly know about this stuff. Yeah. So why did you leave them in the same room with each other? He
wasn't a very good bad guy.
No, he was really bad at this game. I'm surprised he didn't get caught before this, but...
Yeah, exactly. And then he stayed around and hung out near these guys that he knew were so much more dangerous than just bailing and picking a new neighborhood.
That's the thing. He should have just left. Instead, he turns into Dean and goes after Becca, and then turns into Becca to go after... What?
I think as soon as... I haven't thought about this part yet, so we're riffing it. I think as soon as I had opened up Dean's trunk and saw the cross and the hatchet and the freaking mortar launcher, I would have been done. Cool.
Yep. Noped right out of there.
I am going to Wendy's. I'm going to take somebody's form who works there. I'm laying low. I am done with it.
No, I'm getting the hell out of St. Louis.
I'm going to go to New York, see if I can find somebody who works in TV and film, take their form, and go to work for them.
No, that being said... We also are trying to apply logic and reasoning and normal thinking to a person that clearly does not have normal thinking.
I mean, he could have just been insane.
Yeah, that's...
With a lot of those things and the way that he reacted to Becca's rejection, he could have just been insane.
Yeah.
So let's just put Rodney in that boat so that way the episode itself remains good.
Yeah, there we go.
I did like it, though. I enjoyed it. It was fun to watch. I cannot wait to get down the road a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of down the road, the next episode is Hookman. Any predictions for that?
Yeah, you asked me this, and it doesn't. I'm gonna do this flip back in whenever we get into Trek because these episode titles are just not helping.
Well, this is a request from your brother, so that's why we're doing it.
To ask about
the next episode.
Like this one in particular, or just in general?
No, always ask your predictions because he thinks it's funny.
All right, well, we'll see. Hookman. I mean, I want to make a Peter Pan joke. Hookman, if we're doing folklore. See, that sounds more like... What?
It's from the movie Hook.
Oh. Wow. It's been a minute. Okay, so in the supernatural realm, the hook. I mean, I think about I Know What You Did Last Summer and horror movies, but those are weapons, not anything that has to do with a hook. Fish something with fishing hooks? I don't know, man. It's a ghost that scares people with hooks. That's my prediction.
Okay.
Don't look at me like that. I don't know.
I know.
I don't have an answer.
At least you have more than 4 letters this time.
Yeah. 7. It's going to be so much easier when we get in the track. You'll get something of best of both worlds or Fly Me to the Moon as an episode. Yeah, anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, exactly. Just wait. Just wait. Yeah, it is a good time to go ahead and start because we've got, is there 23 episodes?
I think it's 22, pretty sure.
22 in the first season, which means we're not quite there yet, but we are going to start getting to the track. So if somebody's listening, they've got some advice, or if they have a recommendation about which route to go down track, since we're doing 1 season handoffs, and that means I've got 15 seasons to get her to fall in love, then I can think of a couple different ways to do it. So I would love to hear some advice if somebody's got one. Just write in the comments. That would be cool. Because I don't want to start at the beginning. Any Trekkie who is watching this knows exactly what I'm talking about. You do not want to start at the beginning. What?
I just realized that I forgot to read the synopsis of the episode in both this episode and the previous one. So
Do you want to do it now?
no, it's fine.
You can.
No, it's
You
okay.
can. We'll fix it in post.
We've already talked about it, so it's fine. I'll just have to remember next time. Sorry, guys. Don't come here for facts or for consistency.
Yep. Well, that being the case, do we have... I don't think we have a corrections corner this time, do we? We did good.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
we
we
also
just haven't
haven't heard
figured it out yet.
We also haven't heard back from our executive producer.
From our research assistant?
Yeah, so once we hear back from her about previous episodes, we might have some. But
That is true.
But for now, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, in that case...
Let us know.
Like, comment, subscribe, follow down below, all of the fun stuff. Exactly. Well, then, let's go. Let's get out of here.
All right. Just remember, driver picks the music.
Shotgun shuts his cake hole.
There you go. I got it again. Yeah. We're making him into a SPM fan. Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it just didn't sound like you were finished.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. I was trying to finish a sentence and my brain just stopped.
You just rebooted? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Stopped rebooting.
Sweet. All right. Well, then I guess we'll come back for Hookman and see what this guy's all about.
Cool.
What?
You're still in trouble for going to Hooters.
No, I'm not. Okay. Hooters for a beer and a sandwich. Okay. Well, then I will see you next time, I guess.
See you next time. I won't see you till then.
Yeah. No, that's not true.
Okay.
That's not very nice.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.